Okay, everyone. So in today's lesson, let me just adjust my microphone. There we go. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about classes. Now, what are classes? Classes are, well, you can think of it as a blueprint. So whenever we want to make a building, we can use a blueprint, right? And this blueprint can be used to make many different types of buildings, right? And maybe from building to building, we might want to change a few things. Maybe we want to change the material we use, or maybe we want to change our roof. Maybe we want to change the paint. Well, these are all things we can do using classes and using classes as a blueprint to make many different types of houses. So let's get into it. We're going to start with class of pets, which is the really common way of teaching this. Okay, so let's get into it. So first of all, when you want to define a class, all we do is we type in class, or we capitalize the word. Now, this is camel case. So if it was two words, for example, pet food, we would capitalize the first letter of each word. And that's what each word is. So this is how we would do things. And I'm just using a random word. They don't actually mean anything, but that's how I would do it. Okay, perfect. So we have a class of pet. Now, inside this class, we're going to define a few functions. Now, we're going to define something called init. Now, you might be like, what is init? What does this mean? You have underscores. This looks really weird. Well, don't worry. We don't actually need to know what init does. All we need to know is that when the class is instantialized, that this init function is run. So whenever we make a new pet, this init function is run. So we have self.name is equal to name. And since we passed name as an argument to this function definition, whatever we pass when we define the object of pet is going to be the name, which means self.name is equal to whatever we give to the pet object, which is, you're going to see what that means soon. I know that makes not a lot of sense right now. So all this does is basically ensures that you remember the pet's name. Okay. We're also going to say self.energy is equal to 5. So now we've given this pet object a energy value of 5. Let's give it a few more things. So we'll say define speak. And these are what you would call actions that the class can do. So these would be called methods. When we call them, we'd be calling them methods. You might be thinking, is it important that I know these technical terms? It's super important, because if you know what these technical terms mean, you'll be able to differentiate between different technical terms. Okay, so it says meow. We're also going to make one more. Let's have a look. So we'll do self.energy is equal to minus equals 1. So it costs energy to speak. We'll do define feed self. And we'll do print self.name. We'll do eats some food. We'll do self.energy plus equals 2. Now we are ready to call our object, or to create our class object. How do we create a class object? Well, the first thing is we make a variable name. I'm going to say, let's say, a good name for a cat. Let's call it Mizo. This is the name of my brother's cat right there, Mizo. So Mizo is going to be equal to pet. And inside here, we're going to put the name Mizo in caps, like so. So now, let's see what happens if we run that. Okay, nothing happens. Great. So now we've made a class object that is stored inside this variable Mizo. And we've done that by just calling pet and giving it the name, which is necessary because remember we put it right here, right? So now I can say print Mizo dot name. I can say print Mizo dot energy. Let's see what happens. You can see that it prints off the name and it prints off the energy. Really good, right? This is exactly what we wanted. Perfect. Now I can change this. I can change this to Luna, for example. You can see the name changes, but we've kept the old variable name. So this can get very confusing, right? So make sure when you change the name you give to your class object, you also change the variable name. Let's keep this Mizo for now. Capital letters. There we go, Mizo. Really good. Now I'm going to show you about making the pet do things with methods. So we've defined two things, define speak and define feed. And what we've done so far is we've accessed data within our class right here. So the data we've accessed is self.name and self.energy, right? This is basically the blueprint for what we can do with class.pet, or rather the pet class. And these are actions. So let's get rid of these for now. We're going to do meso.speak. Actually, let's leave that for now and see what happens. If we run this, it's going to say meow. And we can't actually see the energy value. But if we were to print off the energy value, it would be 4 right now. So let's do that. We'll do print momo.energy. You can see it's going to be, meso.energy. It's going to be 4. Really good. If we did meso feed, it should now be 7, right? Because we started at 5. When we feed it, we give it 2 energy, and it says eat some food, right? So let's make this more descriptive. We can say something like meso eats some food. Well, actually, let's just say new energy. And that way we know that the new energy value is going to be equal to whatever's after this. There we go. Much clearer, right? Okay, so that's how we use methods after we define our pet class, right? So now this is a pet class here. We've defined it right here, and this tells us what we can do with the pet class. This is us creating the pet object by storing it inside a variable. And this is us using methods with the variable to do the things that we've defined inside of our class of pet, or our pet class. Okay, so we can also make several other pets. Let's do Luna. Let's do Luna is equal to pet. Let's do Luna right there. Luna. Very good. We'll also do Sweetie. That's the name of my brother's other cat, pet. Sweetie. There we go. And now we have 3 pet class objects, right? We have 3 objects of the pet class. So we can access everything inside of these variables, and these are now separate entities, right? So these are going to keep track of their own energy separately. And we can prove that. But we can say meso let's say meso.feed. There we go. We'll say luna.speak. And we'll do sweetie.speak, and also sweetie.feed. So meso.feed, this should now go from 5 to 6. This should go from, actually rather not 5 to 7. This should go from 5 to 4. After speak, it should be it should be minus 1, so it should be 4, plus 2 because we feed it. So it should be 6 after this. Let's see if I'm correct. And this is, as you can see, this is a really good way to make things right, because if we did this with a function, it wouldn't be able to remember things like this. It'd be a bit more complicated, and we'd have to use a lot more code. So this is a way more efficient way, super efficient way of creating a blueprint that we can use multiple times throughout our code. So let's print meso.energy. There we go. We'll also print luna.energy. We'll also print sweetie.energy. And let's see if I'm correct. Am I going to be correct? Who knows? Okay, yeah, so 746, 746, like so. You can see, so meso eats some food, so it goes to -4, or rather plus 2, which is 7. Luna says meow, so that goes to -1, which is going to be 4. And then Sweetie says meow to eat some food, so it goes to 4 and then to 6. Perfect. So super simple, right? That's how we make classes. So first we define our class, and we say what we could do. We give it some base, how can we describe this? Some base configurations, right? Like a name, the energy value. We can even say species if we want to. Color is also another thing we can do. And then we can say speak and feed. We can make it more complicated later on, right? Where we say, let's have a method of attack. Actually, you know what? We'll do it now. Let's do it now. We'll do it together. And I might actually mess up, but that's okay, right? That's part of the pleasure of coding. So we'll say define attack self, and we'll say if self.energy is less than 3, then print not enough energy to attack. Okay. Else, right? So if it's not less than 3, so either that means if it's 3 or more, we can say print Let's do self.main. We'll say self.main attacked the person. Let's do criminal. Much better. There we go. And then we have to say self.energy is now equals to minus equals 3. Right? And that's why we said if there's less than 3, we can't attack because it takes 3 energy to attack. Okay, so now let's get rid of all of this. We'll make it much simpler. We use only meso. Okay, let's see if that runs correctly. It does. Wonderful. So we'll say meso, the energy, just to see how much we have. Okay, oh, why is that not working? Have I done that incorrectly? I have done that incorrectly, yes. Okay, so it should be print meso.energy. Is that correct? Meso.energy. There we go. Let's see if that works. Okay, there we go. So it's 5. And if I say now, meso.attack, meso.attack, right? If we run that once, meso attack's critical. But if we run it twice, it's not going to work. So the first time it ran, it had enough energy. But after that, it did not have enough energy. So in between, meso needs to feed, right? So we have put feed here. And now it should be able to attack twice, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so that's a little bit about classes, how to create them, how to create methods inside of your class, how to define some base stats, how to create your actual object from your pet class, and then how to use methods after that. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And if it doesn't make sense, well, it's okay. We can try and work together. You can review the video. You can look at your worksheet and you can see the things that we've done in our lesson. And hopefully that should help you a lot. So looking forward to seeing you guys in the next lesson and have a wonderful, wonderful day.